I watch that, I am filled both with tears and laughter. You know, they are the same thing. They can be the opposite sides. We can have tears of joy, and we can sometimes make that lightness in those times that seem to be so sad. And then to see Robin Williams, a man who brought such joy through his laughter, and yet he struggled. He struggled with deep depression. But I want to point out something. Again, I'll speak a little bit more about this. This is based on a true story. We notice that the nurse, she is not thrilled about all the laughter and all the commotion that's going on in the hospital there. In the room, after all, there are sick children. Illness is a serious matter. And I'm not trying to take that too lightly. We really don't associate going to hospitals where that's the place we're going to have all this laughter and to find a lot of humor. And likewise, we do not associate coming to places of worship to experience that either. Many of us are taught that how we are supposed to behave when we enter a place of worship is with stoicism, with reverent prayerfulness. We have to have certain hymns that are a little bit more mellow. Should we talk before the service, or should we be quiet? But what really determines something that is spiritual or not spiritual? And I want us to keep in mind, is joy and laughter really spiritual? And as we have been exploring the Book of Joy, the lessons from the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, the gentleman Douglas Abrams, who spent an entire week with these two incredible men, said that he was so profoundly blown away. Before his trip, he was so nervous, like, oh my gosh, like, I've never done interviews. I just kind of wrote books on my own, and I'm going to meet these two well-respected holy men. Oh my God, am I equipped for this? Will I be reverent enough? Little did he know that he was going to spend most of his time laughing, and laughing uncontrollably. And he said, not only did that surprise me, he said, but did I ever expect the two of them to walk in a bar with me? And not only that, to be the one cracking all the jokes, making everybody laugh. And last week I shared how the Dalai Lama, whenever he would be in an interfaith circle or any other kind of event, if people were being all concerned about how stoic they were and whose chair was higher than the other, like I said last week when he tapped it and says, what's the matter with the legs on your chair? Or he would ask, why be so morose? And so Doug Abrams learned from these two beautiful men the second pillar of joy. Last week we talked about humility. This week we're going to talk about humor and laughter. And Abrams shares in the Book of Joy that what he learned from these two wise men was that we have to have a sense of humility to be able to laugh at ourselves. And laughing at ourselves, now this is not in a mocking way, reminds us of our shared humanity. And they continue to go on, the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, to say that humor is healing. It is good for our bodies. It is good for our minds, our spirits. And it is also wonderful in building connections in relationships. Now, both of these men have lived in challenging times. In the communist rule, the Dalai Lama being thrown from his homeland, watching thousands of people killed. And Desmond Tutu in situations where there was warring and genocide and apartheid. And yet these two men said that one of the things that they found would break anger, hostility, was bringing laughter or a sense of humor into the situation. And the Dalai Lama reminds us, getting to that, how are we supposed to hold ourselves and how we are spiritual? He reminds us that how loving and how spiritual we are is not how straight we sit in a chair or what song we sing, but it is what is alive in our hearts, what is alive in our minds. And they teach, okay, there's a time and place for reverence. We must balance that. And silence. But where we come alive and who we are being is determined by what's in our hearts and mind. And you know what? The master teacher, Jesus, taught us that as well. As he would speak, live by the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law. When the disciples would question him, it's a day of Sabbath. You are washing the feet of a prostitute. And he said, we live by the spirit of the law. We're not concerned about which day of the week it is to determine whether I'm going to be loving and gentle and kind. And so that is something that we must all remember. And Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, said that life is consciousness. And I've often shared that Reverend Paul Hasselbeck, who teaches metaphysics at Unity, would say, is it a beautiful day in your consciousness? Because that really determines how you see everything and who you're being. So since this is on humor, we're just going to take a humor break. I found this to be very funny, and I hope you do too.
Jesus, I am late for church. I'm just going to speak this parking spot into existence right now. Just name it and claim it, Jesus. Oh, for heaven's sakes, use the crosswalk. I have the fruit of the Spirit, but y'all need to move. Ooh, she is going to wear that into bounce your eyes. Bounce your eyes. Jesus, give me a miracle. I need a ram in the thicket. I love this church. It's just like come as you are. You know what I'm saying? How do I look, though? Does this jacket go with the shirt? Oh, good Lord. Guests, single parents, expected mother. Who doesn't have a parking spot these days? I have been here 27 years. I deserve respect. Oh yeah, go ahead, take my parking spot. She probably needs Jesus more than me, honestly. Use your mirror. How long does it take to back out of a... Jesus, give me strength. This is so honestly, there better be coffee. There better be coffee. Y'all are gonna make me park in a handicap spot. Oh look, there go the homeschoolers. I swear if somebody took the last jelly donut, I will. Don't make me get out of the... Oh, move
hey,
that...
are you on the ministry team?
Not today, okay? Oh, you're gonna drive a Lexus? Okay, I know where your treasure's at. Not in heaven. The sermon series is what? Putting others in front of yourself. Oh, this doesn't apply to me. I mean, for heaven's sakes, move out of the road. Look at this truck. Where are you going? A church or a Trump rally? Finally found a parking spot 15 minutes late. Oh, it is way too cold out here, but you better bring a shuttle or I will watch this service online.
It wouldn't be so funny if there wasn't some truth in it. So is laughter and humor spiritual? Yes. Not only do we hear that wisdom being spoken through the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, we find it throughout the Bible. And Proverbs 17 verse 22 says, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. Let me say that again. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. I want to go back to that clip that I showed you, more importantly about Patch Adams. And that story was based on a doctor named Hunter Campbell, who resided in Virginia, who in 1971 took his home, a 6 or 7 bedroom home, and turned it into a treatment or a mini hospital, where his passion was to bring compassionate care and the power of humor and laughter to heal. And then that was about 10 or 11 years where he had that, and then eventually he established what is called the Gesundheit Institute. And currently, and for years, it has been a nonprofit organization whose mission is to bring compassionate humor and laughter to children and adults in hospitals, in prisons, in refugee camps and settings, and also to be a training medium to teach medical doctors who are interested in that power. And his love is to open all around the world free hospitals that combine traditional medicine along with alternative medicine, but most importantly, the power of love, of laughter, and of humor. So yes, we can look at Proverbs, and we look at the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, and we look at the life work of Patch Adams, but countless other doctors and scientists have proven the very thing, that healing happens through the power of humor and laughter. It is good for our physical bodies, it's good for our mental state, our moods, and it helps to deepen our relationships. And so as we look, we can see that concerning our physical bodies, that laughter relaxes our whole body. It relaxes all of your muscles, it relieves stress, and it has been shown that up to an hour after laughing, a good laugh, that your body remains in that relaxed state. Laughter is known to boost your immune system. Those stress hormones increase immune cells and infection-fighting antibodies. And so we see that our immunity is everything. It also protects our heart as it improves the function of our blood flow and opens up our blood vessels. And in turn, that leads to a healthier heart. And it is also shown, there have been studies in Norway where they have found that people who laugh every day, spend their time, and make humor part of their daily lives actually live significantly longer, by 10 to 15 years longer than those in the study who did not. And they also found significant results with those who were struggling with cancer, who were under the disease of cancer, finding that people who engaged in laughter and in humor practices actually healed faster and had a greater rate of being in not having a relapse of it. And so it is also good for our mind, our mood. We hear about those endorphins, yes? They are those feel-good chemicals that kind of lighten our load and just bring that sense of well-being all around our body, and it just emanates out from us. And we know that it does build relationships. When I was studying marriage and family therapy, John Gottman, a very well-known studier, psychologist of relationships, found that if humor and laughter was not within a partnership or relationship, that the success of the relationship was not as strong, and it actually could lead, if you were too serious, to a higher divorce rate. And so going back to the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, science has also proven that it helps reduce us in that angry state, that fight or flight. And so when we can release our anger, we allow ourselves to open up in tense situations, to possibly open to another point of view, instead of being triggered by the amygdala in our brain, that fight or flight. And if we are able to open up to a different point of view, we also can be able to drop our own way of having to have something our very own way and our own will. So I just ask you, many of us have had the experience of proven results of prayer and meditation. How many of you have had profound healing, whether it be physically, with a relationship, or wanting to attract something into your lives? How many of you have had the profound effect of that? And how many of you participate in prayer and meditation on a pretty regular basis? And so we do heed the word of the masters, right? Charles in Myrtle, the whole movement of unity was on the healing power of prayer. Jesus, the healer, spoke about prayer. And all world religions talk about the power of prayer. And we do practice that. But how many of us really heed the practice of humor and laughter? Honestly, how many of you engage in a daily ritual of laughter? Good for you. Pretty much. So, increasing that, I have a good friend, a colleague of mine, that I worked with when I was teaching. And she was diagnosed with lymphomic cancer. And she spent, I am not kidding you, 2 hours every day. And she healed faster, and she has been in remission ever since, because not only does she pray, but she makes it a regular practice. And so sometimes when we are in difficult situations, is it not to touch that? So one of the ways that we can do that is just by this, right? Watching movies. A funny video that is going around on Facebook right now is with Tom Cruise and with James Cameron, Corden, where they jump out of the plane. It was just too long for today's service. So watching sitcoms, watching a funny movie, playing with a little one. Nothing brings me joy and laughter. I just have to watch my nephew, my 3-year-old nephew, laugh, or just delight in something, and my whole heart lights up. And there is something called laughter therapy and laughter yoga. Peggy Leary, who is part of this community, she actually went for training, so maybe I can have her do a session with us. And one of the things that we can do is always share a good joke. And one of the funny people here in this community is Lou Payne. I can't tell you how many times, either when I call him, how many of you have experienced Lou's humor? Okay, we have a new system of Arlo, and we were testing it out for when somebody enters so that we can see. So when we first got it, first he comes up to the camera with a bag over his head. And then next he takes the laughing Jesus, and he walks up to the camera with sandals. And so I text him back and I said, I'll be impressed when you start walking on water. And so I thought there would be no better way to end the service but to invite Lou up for a couple of jokes.
Hi, everybody. I'll be back here at one of my favorite places, Neptune, New Jersey. I gotta tell you, my career's in the tank. I'm going nowhere. I finally got a gig at the Unity Church. Warming up the crowd after the show's over. Traveling salesman says to the farm's going, no, I can't do that one. 2 problem at the synagogue. We have squirrels in the attic. I set up poison traps. I must have poisoned 100 squirrels, and there's 100 more. I can't do anything about it. The minister says I had the same problem. I trapped them all humanely. I drove them hundreds of miles out of town, and they just come back. I'm at my wit's end. The priest says, I got this. I had the same problem. I just baptized all the squirrels and made them Catholics. Now we only see them at Christmas and Easter. Three men in a boat, fishing on the lake. And all of a sudden, a magnificent angel appears to them. They're in awe of this angel. And the first guy says to the angel, can you help me? I've had back pain for years and years. I haven't been without pain for a moment. And the angel touches his back, and he is healed. The second guy, he says, look at these glasses, these Coke bottle glasses. I'm going blind, I can hardly see. The angel grabs his glasses, throws them in the water. He's got 20/20 vision. The angel turns to the third man and he says, don't touch me, I'm on disability. And finally, watching the Buddhist save the hot dog vendor.
What?
I don't eat.
Make me one with everything.